Hello and welcome everyone to this week's episode of the podcast. This week I am joined by the wonderful and talented Sima Vaziry. So Sima has an incredible jewelry business which she has built from scratch. And Sima is our handmade jeweler of the week. This week she is on the show, the Handmade Jewellers, and you can catch her episode Wednesday night, 8 p.m. It's going to be on our YouTube channel and we're going to be watching it live. We're going to have a watch party together. So we would love you guys to come along and watch. So we'll put a link in the show notes. Make sure you put it in your diary and come and see us there. You'll hear all about Sima's journey. Sima has sold her work through the British Museum for more than a decade now. She works in silver metal clay and she just has so many facets to her way of jewelry making and her way of running a business that are so inspirational. But today on the podcast, we're going to focus specifically on the way that Sima has worked with charities and kind of jewelry with purpose. So how she's used her jewelry to do good in the world, because I know that loads of people listening and watching have an interest in that and want to find ways that they can, perhaps tap into ways that they can help people through jewelry making. So welcome, Sima. Thank you so much for coming and having a chat with me today.
Oh, hello, Jessica. Thank you very much for inviting me and including me in this program.
Yes, absolutely. And something that people may not know is me and Sima are also very good friends. We've been friends for a long time, so it's always lovely to kind of hang out together for a bit. And yeah, we kind of met, didn't we, through the jewelry circuit, through the London.
That's right. And I was teaching at the London Jewelry School with you.
Yeah.
For you.
Yes, yeah, it's all the same. Yes, and you were just kind of starting your journey into getting into jewelry making and kind of meeting people and doing your networking and all those good things. So tell us a little bit about how you first started getting involved with, charities or jewelry with purpose. How did that come into your life? What was one of the first interactions?
Thank you, Jessica. I was learning a lot of, how to make jewelry. So obviously doing a lot of evening courses. And so I accumulated a large number of jewelry, which it wasn't quite my style. I just wanted to learn how to make them. But then eventually I narrowed it down to the things I wanted to do. So it became my style. And then I just heard one event, and I always like to work with charities because I think it's nice to give as much as you take from the world. And so this charity had a very hot, it was a gala event at, I think it was Porchester Place, which is in Notting Hill Gate, which is very high profile place. And the organization was called Afghan Aid. They are a British charity based in Afghanistan. And coming from that region, my husband is from Afghanistan, I'm from Iran. So I felt it is a right channel for me to put my jewelry there. And from the sales of the jewelry can go to the charity, because it wasn't, this jewelry I made, I wasn't quite sure exactly where I was going to end up. So it was nice to let it go. And on the event, we had lots of media, BBC, all the magazines, and it was a Pepe Smola as well. She was actually had all her jewelry was there for a show, and I had a very small cabinet to sell them, and I met the head buyer of British Museum there, and I have no idea who she was, and she was actually hunting for a collection of jewelry which goes with a major exhibition which was coming within 6 months. And so obviously she gave her card to me and she asked me to go and visit her. And I remember working with you, Jessica, and I wasn't quite sure exactly how to price my jewelry. And, and you helped me a lot actually in that sense. And we sort of priced it. I had no idea that's how to deal with that sort of selling. I knew how to sell my graphics, but I didn't know how to sell items. And so we came up with a budget, and I went to see British Museum. I mean, they knew I haven't got any experience. And my husband was sitting outside in the car because he's very good at pricing. And they found out I'm not very professional, and I told them, I said, I'm very good making jewelry, but this is the first time I'm actually dealing with this. And they asked me to go and call my husband. So
You needed some
it was embarrassing, but they wanted it so much because all my jewelry was sold out within a week or two, and they were desperate to get more, and the exhibition hadn't started yet, and this was like more than 12 years ago, and my husband did come, and there were lots of negotiation, and which I was not used to, and it was long meetings, but we agreed with everything, and overnight I had to move in to the studio because orders were coming. It was a good problem, put it this way.
Yes, yeah, it was quick growth for you, wasn't it? Which is really amazing to kind of hear about those stories, and it all started with this charity event where you were essentially giving away your initial collection in aid of charity, or giving away the profits. And then, so tell us more about, I mean, obviously we're going to hear all about the British Museum in the Handmade Jewellers series. So we will go into more detail on that there. But coming back to the kind of charity aspect, so that wasn't the end of your journey with these charities, was it? You've done loads of things since then. So tell us tell us a bit more about how that evolved.
Well, through the Afghan Aid, which was a foreign office in this country who based in Afghanistan, I met another charity which is called Turquoise Mountain. Turquoise Mountain, it's which Pepe Small, another jeweler who's very much involved, and I always liked her work. And it owns by King Charles, and also they actually work in the countries with conflict, making sure that artisans, they don't forget how to make the jewelry by hand, and designers from Europe or Britain, they've been asked to design a collection, and then they make it, and then you teach them, making sure they do everything correctly. So they are based in Afghanistan, in Jordan, but they're working with Syrian, and also they are based in Saudi Arabia, and also they just opened an office in Palestine, working with Palestinians, but in Jerusalem. And I think it's fantastic. And Rory Stewart, I don't know if you know of him. He was one of the candidates, was going to be a prime minister in this country. He was a CEO of the Turquoise Mountain and a good friend of King Charles. But when he became an MP, then his wife Shoshana took over, and I worked very closely with Shoshana, and then I actually, through Shoshana, I met artisans in Afghanistan, and I created a collection which brought all the tribes in Afghanistan together as a piece, and it was very high-profile charity, and I was very honored, I have to say, being involved with them. And through them, the collection was called Alina, and when it was created, it had a huge impact because my aim was helping people, not helping artisans, but the result ended up us going to Buckingham Palace. The whole collection went to British Museum. I was interviewed by Persian BBC. They were here all day. And then ended up in me writing a book, and Shoshana wrote the foreword. So I had no idea where this was going to go when I started it. So sometimes it's nice to do something that you really like because you put your 110%, and then you definitely get a result.
Absolutely. And I think it's, so lovely to hear about your story, because it's not what happens every day, but it does show what is possible when you kind of meet the right people, and you have the right heart, and you have those intentions, and you want to help. Like you're very much someone who has always been wanting to help others, from teaching to sharing, things around your jewelry business. So tell us a bit about how you worked with the artisans in the other countries, and what
yes, it was very interesting. I mean, it was amazing actually, because you learn so much in this country, but then you don't realize that the other countries, they don't deal with silver and jewelry like the same way. Like for example, I was very shocked and surprised that they actually set the lapis into the silver, and then they polished the entire thing and cut the gem with the silver together. I mean, that was for me mind
That's
blowing.
different.
I mean, they were actually cutting it at the same time, when it was already set. And because they deal with the raw material, and there are not many steps from getting the gem to the designer, so they get everything together. And also another problem was they get silver and how they mix it. So we get sterling silver 925. So I had a bit of a problem getting hallmarked, because in other countries they're not as precise as we are, especially third world countries. So I had to. There was a lot of back and forth how to teach them to use material to mix, because they get pure silver and then they mix it, and to get more than 925, so I can get it hallmarked. So that was a big issue. And nothing. I know, it was amazing, and they were telling me that they get these from China, and not always 100% 999 silver. So there is no machinery. So actually, when I asked them, I said, well, you designed for a lot of people in Europe, you should buy that special machine, which when the rays hits the metal, tells you what grade it is. So they actually did that, and I was very impressed. And also I noticed that there's so much I have to teach them. One night I stayed in my shop and I put a video camera and I talked for 2-3 hours showing them how to do things. And I uploaded it on YouTube for them so they can download it, because it wasn't any way I could send such a big file. And it was very successful, because I saw something like 100 artisans sitting, and there's a big TV and they're all watching, and that was so satisfying.
Yes, of course. It's amazing what we learn, how lucky we are to have access to all these resources.
That's right, yeah.
We can just go into a shop and buy silver and gold. There's a lot of places where that's not possible. Not even just third world countries. There's, places in Europe as well where
that's right, yeah.
You have to have special licenses and things. And I think we're incredibly lucky, and it's amazing how you've been able to pass on some of those skills. And so the pieces that the artisans are making, they're then sold in this country, is that right?
Well, so originally, yes, it was meant to be my copyright and selling, but coming from the design background, for me it's very easy to design. It's I can do it with my eyes closed. So I just felt for them very strongly. So I decided I'm going to let them to use my designs and make money for themselves. And so they did that until Taliban moved in. And at the time, it was very difficult. The country, lot of artisans, ladies especially, they had to leave. And it took about a few years. They got refugee in Canada. And it took a few years before Turquoise Mountain to settle and open an office again. And they managed to do that, which is fantastic. It's nice that seeing a charity being resistant and making sure that artisans still do their jobs, and people like us from outside helping them to bring the standards up. Yeah.
I love that, because I think when there's a big kind of like war and crisis, obviously initially it's just about survival and making sure people are okay and all those things. But as the months turn into years and the years turn into longer, we need purpose, don't we? And creativity is a wonderful outlet. So the fact that you are able to support people, to find other things, to find positive things is amazing for them and amazing for you, I'm sure, like you said, to see that and to see the fruits of that labor coming through. Yeah, wonderful.
I mean, people like to buy, customers like to buy something that is more than just a beautiful piece. So I noticed that, and for them means more. They actually, even if it's not that pretty, they just like to have it as something which tells them the story.
Yeah, the meaning behind the piece, absolutely. Yeah. And when we're buying handmade jewelry, I think to be able to say, to tell a story, whatever that is behind it, is so valuable, isn't it? Because that's something you're going to remember. And it's a sentimental aspect of it, I suppose, in terms of you know, it's not just about the raw materials and that they've put together.
That's right, yeah.
Meaning
And also being ethical as well, because working with charity, they were very much into ethical gems and jewelry. So it was interesting how this ethical was working in these countries, because it's difficult. But they, you know, it was serious cooperation was going on, and a lot of meetings, and you know, it was quite interesting for me.
Absolutely. And Turquoise Mountain's still going and they're still doing their great work. And what are you doing now? Are there any new projects on the horizon, or are you continuing this project, or are you seeing what's next? What's kind of...
Well, I'm hoping that I have enough energy to create a collection which is very deep in my heart, to do with Iran, but not Iran with the religion, but Old Persia, influenced by the designs of the Old Persia before Islam. And obviously, I hope I get it into British Museum, because they always have shows to do with that part of the world. But if it even doesn't go there, I'm happy to do it. So it needs a bit of work, but at the moment I'm so busy with this major exhibition that just passed last summer, to do with the Greece and Persia, Old Persia, which they took a lot of my collection of my jewelry, and I do get 2 purchase orders a month, which is too much. So I just have to talk to them, have a meeting, and sort it out.
Yeah, it's a lot to do. It's a lot on your plate, and you don't outsource loads of stuff. You still keep kind of small, and you know, we've spoken before, and I know that that's your value, is you kind of just want to keep it all manageable for you, and I really respect that. But I think you've been able to do such amazing things, and it's interesting because even from your first collection, I remember that there was meaning behind it. There was kind of calligraphy, and there was language brought in.
The ultimate story.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons, you know, partly because you went to this event, partly because of your presence and who you know, how you are with people, but also because it's, you know, when you're looking at a museum or a gallery or something like that, if they have exhibitions, they want the jewelry to relate to that. And you're very good at tying in. I remember there was a Hajj one as well, wasn't there, that we did some stuff around a while ago.
Yes.
Yeah, so they've given you different projects, haven't they, to kind of...
Yes, I did. They do. I mean, apart from having a permanent collection there, which is based on Persian, Afghan, and Middle East. They're very difficult projects. You know that, for example, the major exhibition was coming to do with Hajj, which is very, very Islamic, you know, religion performance they do when they go to Saudi Arabia. And they asked me to design a non-religious collection to do with that. And and also every time they have a major exhibition, they give me almost a book to read about it. So it's quite interesting, you know, that I liked it because sometimes I didn't even know lots of things about the subject that I thought I know. And also all the exhibitions, they have direction. So it's not like another exhibition about the Hajj or Shakespeare or anything like that, but it's what they want to actually prove in this exhibition. So I had to bring all those elements into the jewelry. And so I usually base it on the history or items that exist in the exhibition or the journey. For example, the Hajj I based it on the journey in terms of history, how it used to be. So it was quite educational. And I did the Shakespeare, which was quite interesting. I don't know why they gave me Shakespeare, but I think it is because
you can do Shakespeare.
I know, because I do calligraphy. I write on my pieces. So obviously Shakespeare is about writing, and he's, you know, he was a very good at storytelling. So I found out that Shakespeare wrote all those stories. It was a reflection of what was happening in this country, but metaphoring it in another country. And I didn't know that. I thought he really wrote about Cleopatra, but they all were symbols, you know, because he couldn't freely talk about what was happening in this country. And that was for me like an eye opener.
Yeah, kind of politics slightly.
Yes,
kind of talking about things that also can't. And I guess, there have been political influences to
yes,
do the things, and you've had to navigate those and kind of
that's
understand
right. Yeah.
and find a way for jewelry to be the connecting thing. And I think in all of your collections, it's been about how can we understand these different cultures and explore them in a
That's
respectful
right. Yeah.
way, and kind of, have a bit of it be part of it, but without being disrespectful in any way towards it. And I guess that's
That's right.
your research, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
fascinating.
I mean, I had another exhibition to do with one god. It was called Faith After Pharaohs. And it was interesting to do with three religions who came one after another, believed in one god. And so what I did, I actually wrote one in three different languages to do with the religion. One in Arabic, which is Islam, and Coptic for Christianity. And the other one was Hebrew. I wrote it in for, Jewish. And I had few people coming asking me exactly what that is, because they weren't quite sure why all these three languages and culture in one jewelry. So yes, there was a lot of inquiry did happen at the time.
Yeah,
So I had to be very careful to respect everything that I do. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, it's been an amazing journey, and obviously we'll hear more about your personal journey as well in the series that everyone's going to go ahead and watch this week. The other question I wanted to ask, we've talked about, jewelry with purpose and kind of finding ways, and obviously the way that you've done it has been pretty epic and amazing. But I think that there's little ways that everyone could do it. And what advice would you give to someone, either starting out in their journey, or perhaps they've been making jewelry for a while and they're looking to find ways to, to give back, to bring perhaps even more purpose to what they're doing? Is there anything that you could suggest?
Well, I would suggest that they should start with themselves. They should start with the feelings they have about something, and how they, feel about the subject. And because if you don't feel deeply, you can't really. It becomes a task rather than some enjoyable journey. And to see what you like, what is so important in your life. It could be a very simple thing like your mother, or the place you used to go when you were a child, and then things will grow, because when you start building the story around the subjects you like, it eventually starts growing out, and then it takes you to different journeys, and you usually choose those journeys because you like it and you enjoy it. And I do believe that if you like something and you put a lot of effort in it, you will be successful in that, and you will enjoy it more than you actually money or anything else. So I think start with yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, starting with your own values. And
Yeah.
I think the other thing that you did that is great is like getting out there and going to events and meeting people and having
Yes,
conversations.
be there.
Yeah.
Basically, it's very important. I mean, that is something I heard from, I don't know, a very famous actor. He said they asked him what is the secret of your success, and he said just be there. Be present in events and places, and because it just happened to me. I was in the right place on the right time with the right product, and that's how you land.
Yeah, absolutely. And the right heart you wanted to do.
Yes, of course. I mean, all those things.
Yeah, love that. Oh, well, it's been so wonderful talking with you, Sima. I feel like there's so much more we could talk about, but I do want people to have time and space to go and watch the show as well. I guess last question I'll just ask you was, how was it filming the show? How did you, yeah, because we came to your lovely studio in the Oxo Tower in London. We spent a bit of time together. You've done other things, you've done other kind of documentaries and things, but what was the experience like for you?
Yeah, it was really for me. It was, although I'd done a lot of documentaries, but this one was really nice, and also it was interesting that every time I had to repeat something, I was saying something different, and it was new things was coming out, And also since then, I have been interviewed by magazines, and I'm going to be, that's another thing, I'm going to be on a magazine, which I never thought in my life going to be. It's
Why
called,
not? Why not?
well, it is not, it doesn't sort of do anything with my jewelry. It's called 511, and it's supposed to be very high fashion, and £15 per issue that they sell. And the reason is the editor decided to go through Italy all the way to China, and through Silk Road, and take a picture and photo shoot and clothes fashion. There were only two countries that couldn't go in, and one was Iran and Afghanistan. And so they came to me and took my jewelry for the section which they do with Iran. And so I thought it was interesting, and they already done the shoots. And I just can't wait to see it, because I just never thought that my jewelry is a high fashion magazine, and, fast and expensive and all that. So I can't wait to see it.
Absolutely. And I think, your whole journey is just a testament to like following your values, saying yes to things, learning, and just being open. And, every time I speak to you, there's new things like this that you're like, oh, also, I'm just going to be on BBC Persia. And also, it's awesome. And I think it shows what's possible as well. So thank you for being an inspiration to many.
And thank you to you, Jessica. You helped me a lot. I always remember that. The time which physically I was not doing very well, and you helped me to be able to get up, and I think I owe it to you as well.
Oh, thank you. It's awesome. So lovely. So if people want to come follow you, come check you out, where is the best place online to find you?
Sima Vaziry, I mean, if you find it difficult to type, simavaziry.com is my website. And I'm quite active on social media, especially Instagram. So if you type my name, you see a lot of information on Google, I guess because it's a lot of hashtags I use. But there's a lot of information on Google, and on YouTube as well, and Instagram. Perfect. I mean, I put everything on Instagram. And my website is quite full with information, what I do. And and also my shop. I am in
come and visit the shop. Yeah,
yes,
London.
Yeah. It's the first floor, Riverside, and 103.
Brilliant.
And you will see me there.
Well, we'll make sure we put a link to all of your social channels in the show notes as well, Sima. Definitely go and give Sima a follow and say hi. Let her know you've listened to the podcast. I'm sure she's a lovely person. She will love to hear from you as well.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, and thanks again, Sima, for coming on. I'm excited for everyone to see your episode, and I'm sure we'll speak again.
Oh, I can't wait to see it myself.
Yeah, it's not always easy to watch yourself, is it? But it will be wonderful.
That's right.
All right, well, take care. Bye for now.
Thank you, Jessica.